I'm the Vice Chairman of the Shinnecock Indian Nation, and I'm also the alternate Vice President of the National Congress of American Indian.
One of the things we're talking about on this Black Lives Matter movement and COVID-19 is these basic things of access to capital, access to education, access to health. I think you're the best spokesman for these issues.
Well, I mean, it's been an interesting journey here. The COVID-19 virus has really brought it into perspective. The things that we need, the things that are not being provided, and the lack of real transparency, even in this CARES Act funding that was put out. There was $8 billion allocated for Indian tribes across the country, and the formula that they used has made no sense to anyone. Even Harvard had done a little study on the formula that was used by the Treasury Department, and they can't make heads or tails of it, in how it was done to disperse these funds among the 574 federally recognized tribes. So most recently, you have several tribes now that are suing the federal government to stop the disbursement of the remaining funds because their tribe got $100,000, whereas you had other tribes get almost $600 million. So the disparity between how
which tribe got more and did you ask the Treasury Secretary that? I mean, that's minutia.
We've asked, countless times, the discussion has been had, and, really they have no solid answer that is justifiable under any, circumstances.
So your interlocutor in the federal government is first the Interior Secretary of the Interior and then the President of the United States. That's your direct line of communication, right?
That is right now correct, yes.
Yeah, and then you have the Senate and the House, but the person who you talk to directly is the Interior Secretary.
We talk to we talk to the Department of Interior.
Yeah.
We talk to Treasury, but even the Secretary of the Interior, the Assistant Secretary, tried to send monies to Alaska out of this $8 billion to the Alaska Native corporations, claiming that they were actually tribes as well and should have part of the funding. And so again, we look at these things across the board and we see the disparity even with the people that are supposed to be helping us. Tara Sweeney, who is the Assistant Secretary of Interior, is supposed to be advocating for tribes. And yet here she is under the Trump administration advocating for these ANCs, which she was a part of.
And then you're a congressman. Selden should be, I talked to him before about the Indian amity education, and Adelphi seems to have listened to us when we wrote about it, and you got that, and we'll get back to that. But shouldn't you be talking to Lee Zeldin? Because it seems like the New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has done everything possible to make your life difficult and taking opportunity from your reservation.
Well, I think that, the administration has not been as friendly as it could be if they understood the partnerships that we could have with the state. You see a lot of successful tribes out there have great partnerships and relationships with the state. And, this is something that I've actually spoke to him about on a number of occasions, and just trying to educate, about how we can work together instead of being adversarial.
Yeah, I mean, Cuomo, his whole family has a complex in Bridgehampton, like the Kennedys used to have in Martha's, Johannesburg. You have Michael Bloomberg, just like even less than a mile from here, who has his ranch and everything here. You have all the bankers and all the most powerful people in the world here in this Southampton, Hampton areas.
The problem is, though, we are the East End's forgotten people. People ride by, they see, the Shinnecock sign, or they see a bunch of smoke shops, and they think that that's, the reservation, that's the people, and not realizing that there is a whole community here, that there is people that have housing problems, that we have, education problems right now, and, we can't even get a bank loan right now, to build, homes in the community. So it's a difficult situation. In the 2010 census, 60% of our people were below the poverty level, and it's disheartening to live in the middle of all this wealth and opulence, and not have, an understanding or a relationship, a real relationship with our state or our county or our local governments,
Yeah.
that we can have these meaningful conversations and sit down, but actually make things happen.
Yeah.
Lip service is great, but at a particular point in time,
Yeah.
it does nothing.
I mean, you're the proudest and the most patriotic Americans. You probably have the highest percentage of anybody in the country of service members in the military. I see your kids going to the best colleges. You have a lot of success stories coming out. There's a lot of talent on this land.
Well, in our community, we have. We just buried one of our Marines yesterday, Sergeant in the United States Marines, and across the nation, indigenous Indian people, American Indians have served in the armed forces in greater numbers or per capita than any other group in the country.
Yeah.
So there is a sense of pride. There is a sense of understanding that no matter who has invaded this land or whatever, it is still our duty to protect this land from all sources.
Like the Black Americans, the same thing. They've served in all our wars. They're the most proudest. In fact, the struggle is not to have better treatment, it's to use the Constitution and our laws for all Americans.
Well, it says justice for all, and that is not how it really works out.
Yeah.
It might have been good intentions at that time, and the thought process was there, but the reality of the situation, when you look at the Black Lives Matter movement, or for us, the Native American, with all due respect to the Black Lives Matter movement, we have double the documented number of Native Americans killed by police. So when we're talking and having these conversations, we're saying, oh, wait a minute, we can't be left out of these conversations as well.
Oh no, that's what the biggest criticism of BLM is. Locals in Baltimore, DC, Minneapolis say, hey, you just come in when it happens and then you walk away. It's all Black Lives Matter, the violence and stuff, and it's about jobs and education. Talking about education, you were instrumental in getting Amity, the largest Indian private university, to do a partnership with, to do a joint venture with Adelphi, which is your Adelphi, sorry, is your alma mater. So let's talk to the trustees of Adelphi and get your members of your tribe and people to get into the colleges. I mean, both you.
We were completely ignored after that. And it was kind of disheartening. But as it is, we just continue to try to move forward in a good way. This COVID virus really put everything into perspective.
Yeah.
And we isolated ourselves here in our community. We took a page out of our history when the United States and the first Puritans came down, and they had these blankets infested with smallpox and all of that, and started giving them to the Indians. We took a page out of our own history and isolated ourselves then, and that's what we did.
Yeah, because you had all the guys coming in from New York invading here when you have like 5 hospital beds in Southampton. You have, even the whites here have the worst health care in New York almost. You have New York and that lousy hospital in Southampton. So, the good hospitals are in Manhattan, but they all came out here. And, you're saying that. And the last thing is economic development opportunity, bridging the opportunity gap. This is something that we can, I think these CEOs should be looking at how they can make this a financial success for the Shinnecock, but the rest of the nation.
Well, there's a lot of tribes in the country that are worse off than some third world countries.
Yeah. I was at Wounded Knee in South Dakota,
And I think that, the realization that tribes can do good business, that there could be, a real potential for economic growth inside of the boundaries of tribal lands is being overlooked. One of the things that I said to President Trump's team when he was talking about all of the jobs going to New Mexico and the factories and everything, I said, you haven't looked at Indian land.
Yeah. Marijuana should only be grown on Indian property because it's federally regulated. It should not be grown on state property.
So there's a lot of things.
And hedge funds, we can have like financial services and,
There's a lot of things that could be done, It's just a question of people really getting motivated and, wanting to do it. Michael Bloomberg, lives right down the road here. And he said some very disparaging remarks, which, you know, I've
But he insulted. I mean, it's a neighbor insulting a neighbor.
I've reached out to him, you know, to try to have a meeting with him, you know, so that we could talk about some of the things and maybe, you know, move forward in a positive direction. You know, he's over here at our Shinnecock golf course. And yet, you know, not once has he reached out to us, you know, but, you know,
I get, after we do this story, I think he'll be calling you very quickly.
You know.
And another thing, have you met the president and Treasury Secretary?
No, I mean, I know Donald Trump from prior to being in office.
Oh, okay, so you knew him.
To sell us some land in Jones Beach, so.
He did?
Yes.
Oh, as what, before you were recognized?
Yeah, no, before we recognized?
Was it?
I don't think so. I think it was after. Yeah, I think it was after.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely after. It was before he was running for office, but right when he was starting to run for office.
Oh, when you were recognized and before he became president. Oh, so you wanted to make it your casino. Oh, he was talking about you using your. Oh, because if 75 miles you make in trust, he would put it under your land.
He was talking about selling us some land, you know, to do gaming over by the Jones Beach area.
And how did that go?
It was not feasible for us to do at that time, based on the location and everything.
Because one of the big scandals you have is with the Sif family that has the hedge fund and they own the New York Times, regarding doing a plot of land. That sort of, you know, is that something you'll go after, the Sif hedge funds? Because they got in trouble for bribery in Africa. You know that? They paid the highest fine in American history for bribing African officials.
We have to, you know, we just... Right now, we've got to deal with our everyday life.
All right, all right.
You know, that's the most important thing right now. Just trying to
get everyday life.
Keep our people safe from this virus, which is still out here. And you know, you got all these people coming from Florida now, coming out here.
Yeah. Oh, and then the people, the subletters who are taking 20 to a house.
You know, so there's a lot of stuff that's going on out here that is disturbing. But you know, at the end of the day, we keep trying.
Okay.
That's our motivation. Our motivation is to take care of the next 7 generations, and that's what we're going to do.
So this generation is doing better than the former generations, and hopefully their kids are going to do better, and then better and better and better.
That's the plan.
And they'll be owning the bigger houses later on.
You know.
And maybe the Shinnecock golf course.
We're very conservative people, you know.
Yeah.
We're not impressed with the wealth, you know. We're impressed with the preservation of the lands. We're impressed with the preservation of the waterways.
Yeah.
And we're impressed with the preservation of the air. Because at the end of the day, those are the only things that matter.
Yeah.
You know, for one's survival. So for us, you know, that's our focus. You know, we see what's going on around us. We see the struggle and understand the struggle that we have as a people.
Yeah.
But again, when we look at what we need to do, it becomes a difficult situation, you know, because of the lack of capital.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key.
And then that's working capital, and Black Americans are the biggest entrepreneurs and the most great, $1.5 trillion in spending power and the greatest growth in the world right now.
Yep.
And smart money is already doing that. Okay.